Hey guys, in today's video, we'll be talking about how to do the vibrato using the wrist and the fingers. The vibrato is actually a mix of both the wrist and the fingers, just that when we get to the higher positions, there is more involvement of the fingers because there is physical obstruction of the wrist. So it is important that we practice both the wrist and knuckle flexibility right from the beginning, so we'll be able to sort of find a balance on how to use the wrist and the fingers right from the start. Now, before we hop into the video on how to do the vibrato, a very common question that students often ask is, when can I start learning the vibrato? And how long does it take to master the vibrato? First, to do the vibrato, you will have to get a secure intonation. It's about grade 3. And the other question on how long does it take? This really depends on how much you practice, how committed you are, how efficient is your practice. It is not something that can happen overnight. It really takes lots of time, lots of practice, because it is something that requires muscle memory. I would say just take some time to learn. Don't hurry, just make sure that you're doing everything right. Firstly, we have to learn how can we activate the wrist. I'll be teaching you 2 methods for this. If the first one doesn't work, I'll recommend you try the second one. But the first one is called the knocking method. We'll move the wrist from the first position to the third position. That is when your index finger is on top of the D note. Then rest the wrist against the violin. Please note that you're not supposed to do this when you play. This is just for vibrato practice. And lift the index finger off the violin. So leave a very small gap in between. Carry out a knocking motion this way. When you knock, make sure that it's not abrupt. We don't want an irregular knock. Make sure the front and back motion has a consistent distance and keep the speed consistent. After you kind of get familiar with the motion, you can increase the speed so you get a faster kind of knock this way. And after this is fine, move back to the first position and also keep the index finger off, meaning your thumb is the only one in contact with the violin this way. And then you create the knocking motion, but your wrist is independent this way. You can check against the mirror, make sure that you have this consistent motion. Just make sure that your motion is going towards the scroll and that the motion is always consistent with an equal distance back and forth. Now, off to the second method, and this will require you to get a rubber ball. We go get a ball. Gotta open it. I kind of got this at a random shop and they look something like this. Please make sure that they are soft so they don't scratch your fingerboard. My students were all able to get the vibrato after trying it with the ball. So if you really can't get it, I highly recommend you try this with the ball. How this works is you place the ball on the fingerboard and wrap your fingers around the ball. Lift the index finger off the violin and then you can carry out the rubbing motion. And similarly, make sure that the motion is not abrupt. You should still be able to get a very smooth motion because we want the vibrato to be consistent. After you get this motion, then you can try the method 1 again. Remove the ball and make sure that you can move the wrist independently this way. Now we'll be moving on to activating the fingers. I'll also be sharing with you 2 methods so you can try both of them. The first method is the sliding method. Similarly, keep the index finger off the violin and only the thumb should be in contact with the violin. Place the third finger on the string and start gliding slowly along the string. Make sure that you don't press but only keep the finger slightly in contact with the string. Stretch the finger out and then keep it curved backwards. As you get more familiar with the motion, you realize that the wrist will also follow through. And you can try to keep it a bit faster and keep the distance more narrow. So you go a little bit closer around, just around the D string, and you can go faster this way. After you feel like you're more familiar, you can press the finger down and create the motion this way. The second method is the pitch flex using the knuckles. So how you can do this is to press the fingers down, create a slight flex. You realize that the flex is created when you pull the fingers away, so the knuckles will be a little bit straightened. And you can try it for all the other fingers. After you're comfortable, you can try to move a little bit faster. Also ensure that the fingertips are always fully in contact with the fingerboard. If not, we're gonna get a sound that sounds like this. We want it to sound like this. If you feel that you're not able to control your knuckles or any of the fingers, it probably means that your fingers are a little bit too weak. And I recommend you to do some exercises like the shreddiak. It helps to build some finger strength, so make sure you're able to do this. You can just tap the fingerboard every day and then you kind of get this popping sound. Give yourself maybe 10 minutes a day to practice vibrato. It's not easy, it takes time for sure. Alright, so that's all I have for today's video. I think this is the quickest summary I could ever generate for a vibrato. Let me know in the comments below if there is anything you would like to see. I'm looking to do a video on bow hold and the bow motion next, so you can probably stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions or would like to discuss anything, leave them in the comments below. Let's just be friendly about it. And I'll see you guys till the next video. Fun practicing.